Welcome back to the Social Manoa. Once again, my name is Cindy, and this is my co-host Vanessa over here. Today, we are joined by a very special guest. She is one of the founders, or one of the founding ambassadors of the CSS Ambassadors Group. So we want to welcome to our podcast over here, Aubrey Thomas. Yay!
Hi. Hello.
So Aubrey, could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. So as you said, my name is Aubrey Thomas. I am a project associate at the National Organization on Disability in New York City. I've been in New York for just over 2 years, and now I'm in Nevada with family, but I'm so happy to be with you folks today. So thanks for having me.
Yes, and thank you for being here with us. So we heard that you're doing a lot of great things in New York. And so what area of study did you take at UHM to guide you to the career that you have now?
Sure. So I was a sociology major and poli-sci minor. I'm a huge fan of the humanities, and that kind of just stuck with me throughout college. So I think I took like one honors sociology class my sophomore year, and it really just like was immediate to me that this is what I wanted to study. So yeah, that's what I did, sociology and poli-sci.
Awesome. I'm a sociology major too, so woo-hoo!
Oh, really? How funny. So funny.
Yeah. So why did you choose to do the current field that you are in now?
Well, I've always been fascinated with like human behavior and just understanding how like different groups of people fit together. And so political science is just kind of that framework applied to the stage of politics. And both sociology and poli sci touch on like, I would argue some of the most like impressive or not impressive, the most like pressing issues of the day. And that's work that I wanted to be a part of. Like I was very interested in applying all of these things that we were learning in school and using it for like the greater good and improving, whatever sector of the world that, I was occupying at the time. So yeah, I thought I was going to do like the law school thing. And then I realized at the beginning of that process, when you're doing like the LSAT and applying to schools, that I was like, I can use a lot of these skills and talents and interests that I've developed throughout college, and I can use them in a different way that's not just law. And it was really when I kind of had that world expanding view that I like decided I was just going to change course and do like public service or nonprofit work. And so that's what I've been doing ever since. So
I think it's awesome that you're doing public service and like nonprofit work. It's definitely we need a lot of people like you.
well, it's so underrated, I think. It was never really presented as like an option in college, which I think is a disservice, but it's a total field that people should be interested in. And I think it's important to do so.
So, you say you work it was the national for
the National Organization on Disability. Yeah, it's a big name,
yeah.
Long name.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. So, like, how were you able to get in contact, or like, how were you able to apply to the current job that you have now?
So it's kind of funny. I did like a really not recommended path. I moved to New York without a job. And I kind of was just like, I'm going to make it work. I had enough, I thought, skills and abilities to like do whatever it took to make it work. And that's kind of what I did. I did temp work for a little bit. I was working with recruiters to kind of connect me with a mission-based organization that was really going to provide me trajectory and help me grow in different areas. So it was kind of just by luck. I saw that they were hiring, the recruiters connected me, and I started working. I actually started as an admin assistant. And in the 2 years that I've been there, my role has morphed and grown a lot of different ways. And right now I kind of just, as a project associate, I kind of tackle all of the different issues that we have. I fill in gaps and improve systems and processes. And so that can vary from, doing internal and external initiatives like event planning, revenue, stuff like that. So yeah, it's been an interesting ride, and I'm happy to be there doing the good work. So
yeah, I bet it has been an interesting ride. So for students who definitely want to be, like probably have similar interest goals as you, what advice do you have for them?
I think it's important. I mean, everyone will tell you this, like it's important to like do what you love. I think it's important to do what you love, but also be willing to try things and stick it out if it's not immediately rewarding to you. Like I think there's a lot of things that can seem frustrating when you're entering a career or choosing a path, and it seems like maybe this is the wrong one, but I would really encourage people to, give it a year, like just try things out. If you like them, and that's great. If you don't like them, then take what you can from the positions and just apply it in whatever setting you want to move into, because it's always going to be beneficial to you. I mean, at my time in Manoa, I had done, I think, like 5 different kinds of jobs that were like scary, but like different, and really taught me a lot of things. And I thought that was like the most valuable thing I ever learned at UH. So, but it took, the courage to like, try the things and just stick it out. So that would be my biggest piece of advice.
Yeah, from what you've been saying, it really does sound like, sometimes in life you just gotta take the risk and just jump right in. Like moving to New York City with no set job already, like New York's already quite expensive. So personally for me, I would love to have like just a bit of your confidence to just take things in stride and go. And I think with what's going on right now with the pandemic, a lot of people's plans have been kind of uprooted. And so at that point, then, everyone's on the same struggle bus in a way. And so in that case, just be the special one and just take the risk. And, that's definitely, I think, really good advice for everyone right now who's kind of afraid to make that first step.
Sure.
So kind of branching off, what does a day in your life look like when you're working at your job, right? When you're working at your job in New York City, with like everything that's going on with the pandemic. I know earlier on, New York was hit pretty badly with the pandemic. So how has your life been like now?
So it's interesting. Yeah, there was definitely more color in my life pre-COVID. I would say obviously New York is like a very exciting place, and in the middle of a pandemic, it has shifted a bit to be like, during the workday, it's just really me and my roommate. We're just plugging away at our laptops from like 9 a.m. on, sometimes earlier, and we're just, like really busy during the day. But the biggest conversation is like, okay, like what are we gonna order for lunch? Like that's usually like the big hot topic. But I think at the end of the day, like, we're just so focused on trying to like what she does and what I do. We're just so focused on like our jobs that the day kind of passes quickly. We do try to build in like breaks. Like I usually run errands in the middle of the day just to like go see the outside world. So the whole like New York City shoebox apartment thing is like very real. And so you need to like build in time to like see the outside world, stretch your legs, like remind yourself that there's like a life outside of your apartment. So yeah, but other than that, honestly, pretty normal. Like, when it's dinner time, we eat, watch TikToks, like watch TV, chit chat, and then we're in bed by like midnight. So it's not too exciting. And I have to admit, like, at the height of the pandemic in New York, I actually left to come stay with family in Nevada, which is where I am now. It's kind of just like where I go to hide away when it's like a little crazy. So now that it's cold again, I'm here. So I didn't really bear the brunt of it. I know people that stayed, and it was like obviously very challenging to have to do that. So I'm very fortunate to be able to kind of pick up and hide away for a little bit. So
That's the beauty of living on the mainland. It's get in a car, you can drive to a whole different state and get away from all the chaos. And definitely it sounds like, the life that you have now is like the standard like work from home life. And trying to pivot from perhaps maybe going into an office and seeing different coworkers to now kind of being more stagnant physically in one place. I definitely think that's going to be challenging, especially as you said, New York apartments are not necessarily that big, so you don't have much a space to work with. So kind of perhaps taking like a step back in time when you were still a student at UH-Mānoa. Earlier on, we had alluded that you were one of the earliest ambassadors for the College of Social Sciences. So can you kind of tell us like how did you become an ambassador like that me and Vanessa are now? Like how did you start off with this program?
sure, happy to tell you that. I just want to say a quick note. I think it's really cool that you guys are doing this. We never would have like dreamed to have this kind of format to like interview past ambassadors. I think this is really cool that you guys are doing this. Anyway, back to the whole way that I got involved. I was part of the Manoa Political Internships program for about a year. I did 2 different semesters and internships within those semesters. So the first semester, I was an intern for Senator Hirono in DC. The fall semester of my junior year, I came home and applied to work in the prosecuting attorney's office in Honolulu, and I did that. And at the end of that whole junior year, I was like really looking for a way to kind of like shout from the rooftops, like all of these like amazing experiences that I had had. And like, I wanted to have people experience them as well. Cause I'm like, this is just yours for the taking. If you do the work, you know what I mean? Like it's an amazing opportunity. And then also I felt like this very deep sense of obligation to UH because I felt like they had invested so much like time and money and resource into me, just believing that I could do it, that I was like, I feel like I should put something back into that. It's the very least I could do. So my roommate, who I actually went to DC with, she was in the little cohort that went to DC with me. I was living with her and she was an ambassador when we got back. And she told me, maybe next year, like try it out. And I was like, okay, I'm all about trying stuff out. So I did, and I did it for the whole year and I really liked it. Actually, it was a very interesting time to be doing that. So I was happy to participate.
Wow, that definitely, I feel like I'm walking in your footsteps because that's exactly what I did as well, how I became an ambassador as well. I actually, the Manoa Political Internships, they had added when I was a sophomore internship program working for the district office of our congressional delegation. I was part-time, but I was like, sophomore me was like, I don't think I'm gonna get it, but let me try anyways. And lo and behold, I got it. And then
Awesome, good for you.
yeah, and then afterwards, I believe I did the public defender's office instead. So the opposite of what you do. And then after that, I just like you, I was like, I need to tell everyone how great this program is. If you don't mind, just you said you went to DC. I think there may be some of our viewers, they may also be interested in perhaps applying for one of these internships, and DC is always like the big one because you can actually go to DC to work in Congress. Could you kind of tell us a little bit about your experience in DC, what it was like, and things might be a little bit different because of the pandemic, things might be a bit shaky, but like how was it to work in Congress and to be in our nation's heart?
Great question. So I really had applied just on a whim. I think I saw like a flyer for it or something. I don't think anyone had told me about it. And, I went into the interview, there was like several people there. It was like the biggest thing I'd ever attempted to do. And so when I got it, it was like, okay, wow, like, okay, I'm really gonna do this, and I was very nervous, like very worried. I wasn't worried about the work part, but I was worried about moving across the country to like live with people I didn't know and like do that whole thing. But I got there and it was awesome. There was 4 of us girls. We were all around the same age. So super fun. It was really, honestly, I don't even know how that was real life, to be honest. Like it's just a very weird, like flip of the hat. Like I don't know how that happened, but it was awesome. Working 40 hours a week and going to school was a challenge sometimes, but generally very doable, especially like now in the pandemic. I feel like people are getting more accustomed to like online learning, and it was exactly that. So I felt lucky to be able to like, do something that I wanted to do and also just be able to easily do the thing that I had to do. So very lucky in that regard. It was for me, like I couldn't really afford to go abroad. My parents were like, we're not going to fund that. So to me, this was like an excellent like substitute for that. And I had never lived anywhere else but Hawaii. So it was really just like world expanding, like a very surreal, amazing experience. I cannot speak more highly about it. And the senator that I worked for, Senator Hirono, she's just like a badass pioneer woman. Like she's awesome. And, especially in those years during Obama, the Obama years were awesome to be in DC. So yeah, it was a great experience. And I'd encourage anybody, even if it looks a little bit different now, highly encourage you to do it because it's going to be like eye-opening. So
Definitely. I think a lot of people think that, oh, it's politics. I don't like politics. Politics can't apply to me. But I think, as you mentioned, there's so much more to that internship than just working in politics. Like, of course, that's a big thing because you're working in Congress, but it's a way for people to, as you mentioned, go abroad without necessarily having to sink in so much money because it is all paid for. So that's
totally. And you bring up a
Also,
good point because it's like the work experience itself, right? Like you cannot get that kind of experience anywhere else. Like they really are teaching you skills. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, when I first went there, I didn't, for some reason, this is gonna sound so dumb, but I didn't have like the sense to like bring a notebook and paper to every meeting that I went to. And my supervisor at the time, he was like, you know, you gotta be bringing like at least a notebook and like a pen to every meeting, and like that's just an important life skill. And honestly, every time I go into a meeting, I think of that, and it's like it's the smallest thing, but it's stuff like that that like it's really preparing you for like career readiness, you know, and like that's important. That's not something that everybody gets easily. And you know, after I graduated from college, I used a lot of those connections to get my first job. I ended up working as a staff assistant in the Honolulu office, and that's not something I was able to into so easily had it not been for that experience. So yes, I mean, all of those things you just said and more. It's great, fantastic.
Well, that's the perfect segue into our next question, talking about career readiness. I think we've kind of established, like, with of course with the internship, is definitely prepare you for your career, and then as Vanessa and you had kind of discussed earlier, your studies as well at UH also kind of helped you prepare for your career, especially in the nonprofit sector, which once again we cannot thank you enough for,
Sure.
going into this field, because I think most people, when they think of a career, they're like, oh, I gotta work in the private sector. I need to make all the money. Like, I need to worry about myself. And to a degree, you should care about, yourself. You should make sure that you are able to survive. But at the same time, there's so much need out there that we need people like you who are just like, you know what, I'm willing to make that extra step um, to help another person. And
Mhm.
so first of all, thank you very much for that. And
Yeah.
so, kind of trying to tie in everything, when also with your experience as an ambassador, kind of working in the student leadership program, how did that also kind of prepare you for your career? Because I'm very sure there's a new dynamic that comes with being a student leader.
Sure. You know, I always say like the best gift that UH ever gave me were these idea of like career readiness and workforce readiness opportunities. You know, at my time at UH, I was an RA, you know, an intern for the senator, an intern at the prosecuting attorney's office, a TA, and an ambassador. Not all at the same time, but like throughout the years. And all of those things taught me like such crucial skills, like skills that not everybody gets just when they go to college. You know what I mean? It's a very special and a rare thing, and I appreciate it. And some of those, you know, include like communication styles. Like, not everyone's gonna think and act the same way that you do, or communicate the same way that you do, and you need to be able to like cross the divide and just make it work. You know, especially with like the ambassador thing. Like, there were a lot of situations in which we were really driving the ship entirely, and there was no one who was going to just give us the answer. So we had to have a lot of like problem solving, communication, just to get it over the finish line, whatever the project was, over the finish line. And honestly, even like the very like rudimentary basic things like planning, which is like a massive part of my job now. I learned that being an RA, which is a student leader position, I in the ambassador role, student leader position, like these are all things that you can carry throughout your career if you're open to like the opportunities that are there for you, which I think is again great, so great.
Awesome. Thank you very much for sharing your experience. And I guess kind of to wrap up our interview, it's just, do you, Vanessa, and you had kind of talked about like advice for career. Before, perhaps maybe we may have some freshman viewers that maybe they're first generation college students in their families. What advice would you have for them to kind of using this opportunity, this new stage in their life, to kind of take a risk and be a student leader, if that's something that they have the drive for, but they don't know where to start?
Hmm. I think I was thinking about this. You know, number one, I would say don't be shy. Like, I think I wasted a lot of time early in college just like worrying about asking for questions, asking for help, or conversely, like reaching out to people to encourage them to do stuff or get them to participate. You just worry about how it appears or how it comes off, that it's awkward or weird. But I think that's a super skill. If you can do that and you can empower people, just by sharing your experience and lending a hand, I think that's an amazing thing. And that's just going to only help you in life. And it's something that everyone can develop, just the ability to like get over it. You know what I mean? And just do the job and do the mission, if that is it, which is to help people. And then also I think there's an element that people should just be genuine and real about it. Like I like to live by the principle like a higher tide raises all ships. And in that it means like if everyone succeeds, everyone's only going to succeed more, like we're all just going to be see more success if we're all doing well. So you don't have to somebody or, trying to tear people down. You can offer the hand and it's going to benefit you too, especially in like the world we live in now. So many jobs are related to your network and like who and how you maintain those connections. I wish that like I had known that earlier because it's an important skill to be able to like maintain your network. So yeah, that'd be my two biggest things.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Aubrey, for your time today talking about, your journey from UH all the way to the other side of the nation. We cannot thank you enough for spending your time with us today and just, help providing a possible pathway that future students can follow as well if they're interested in nonprofit work, or if they're interested in perhaps working in the nonprofit sector. Is there any ways, perhaps maybe students, if you're open to students contacting you or to look up more information about your organization as well?
Sure. I'm happy to connect on LinkedIn. I was always weird about using LinkedIn in college. I thought that it was awkward. I don't know why I thought that. I just did. Now it's like just an asset that you have to use. So anyone that would like to connect or get to know about New York, NOG, nonprofit work in general, please feel free to look me up on LinkedIn. It's just Aubrey Thomas, so you'll probably find me. But yeah, happy to make the connection and happy to help anybody who is looking to make that jump to the big city. So yeah, let me know.
Awesome.
And thank you for
Thank you
having me.
again.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Talk later. Bye.
Bye. So also, since we're still recording, I also wanted to just direct everybody to our Instagram page if everybody wants to take a look. It's at UHMCSS Ambassadors. And then it's usually we have a lot of activities there for people who are interested in like careers and how to get towards like certain careers that they want to go to or are interested in research and psychology and perhaps sociology as well. We are also trying to direct our students to more opportunities. So with that, we're going to end the podcast here for today. And let me just stop the recording if I can find it. Okay, found it.